public debt is basically the money that the country owes from other lenders. They can be based in the same country as the country itself, or they can be based outside the country. So they borrow for different reasons, basically, or pretty much they are similar to the reasons why an individual would borrow. But the greatest difference, which must be highlighted when we're talking about public debt, is that this money is borrowed in the name of the citizens and for the citizens and by the citizens. And we have to understand that it is the citizen that will repay this money.
The public debt, from what I understand, is used for public projects like roads, infrastructure, and other social services. And what it should be meant for is the citizens. It is supposed to help the country with development, and it is supposed to benefit the people of Zambia.
If it's borrowed in the name of citizens, initially it's supposed to benefit us. So I remember when government contracted the Euro bonds, so they would say they wanted to invest and also work on infrastructure development. So initially it is supposed to benefit the citizens.
So, as I indicated, debt is used for investment. Basically, debt comes in to breach the fiscal gap. As the government prepares the budget, you would realize that the needs may be more than the resource envelope. And maybe government may be in a hurry to build a school somewhere. They may be in a hurry to build a hospital there. Somewhere they may be in a hurry to provide some water and sanitation services somewhere there. So sometimes based on their budget projection, you may find that they realize there's a gap and they would go and borrow. They realize they want to build a road which is so important or which is so beneficial to the public. They would go out there and borrow.
Well, first of all, I would say that debt impacts, it could impact the cost of living, and it could ultimately impact my welfare. So when it comes to my cost of living, I find that my cost of living, I go to the supermarket, I find commodities sort of expensive, services become expensive because of the depreciation of my currency. Further, like I said, it's going to impact my welfare because government is supposed to allocate adequate resources to social sectors, for example, education, public services and public goods.
I'm not sure of the exact amount that Zambia that we owe as a country, but I do not think the money that we are owing translates to or benefits the ordinary people in sectors such as education and health. I think most of the money has been used to roads, which is mostly in Lusaka. So that means that the majority of the population does not benefit.
Or to some extent, I would say we are able to see one or two things. I would not be doing myself a favor, or I would not be very honest if I say we haven't seen any development with regards to the monies that we've gotten. However, there's been a few instances where you've gotten this money for these specific purposes, but at the end of the day, the results that you get are not so good. I'll give an example of the Ministry of Health and the scandals that we've been seeing from time to time. We've heard that we have expired drugs. From time to time, we've heard that we have expired condoms and all those things. And when you look at that, those are things that are supposed to benefit the citizens. Those are things that are supposed to benefit the masses. And chances of it coming back after you discover that these drugs are expired are very minimal. That's if at all there are any chances.
I think our debt now has reached critical levels. It's more than 50% of our GDP. So that means more than 50% of government revenue is spent towards servicing public debt. And so when half of the revenue that the country has is going towards servicing debt, that means the other half has to be spent between among different sectors, such as education, health, and then that other half is actually not even enough because they also have to pay civil servants.
There is little information about public debt in Zambia, and that itself breeds corruption. I can give you an example. I think a year ago we attempted to do a study on the utilization of public debt as action aid, and we were specifically focusing on the €3 bond. And I can indicate to you that we attempted to get some information from Ministry of Finance on how this data has been utilized. Like, we really want to see where each and every dollar of those euro bonds went. We had some information on the first euro bond, scant information on the second euro bond, and nothing on the third euro bond. So that in itself leaves a lot of questions from the citizens themselves. And I think that's where now the issue of corruption comes in.
When I think about corruption, relating it to public debt, I think the high levels of corruption that have been reported in the country have affected public debt, because the current FIC report has shown a lot of billions of kwachas that have been lost through corruption, and that money would have been used to service different sectors such as education, health, and infrastructure. Despite having a lot of corruption that has been reported, there hasn't been prosecution. So that just shows that there isn't much that is being done.
Currently, Zambia is, of course, it's the elephant in the room, if we could call it that. We have the debt stock amounting to about 2.7 billion. That's a lot. We are really in debt distress, and in a situation where you have sort of loopholes in the system, where there's a lot of leakages, you end up losing substantial revenue that could be used perhaps to pay back the debt, or rather to be invested in important social sectors. So it's a lot needs to be done to ensure that public resource management is one of the priorities of government in terms of enhancement.
Me as a citizen, I think firstly, at a personal level, my siblings and my parents had the virus, and so one of them is out of employment as at now. So I think it's really put people in a position of unemployment, and also it's weighing down on our emotional well-being because we are stuck at home. Currently, there's a lot of social activities that have been put on hold, and then there are people that have also been dropped out of their workplaces because they can't continue working. The economy isn't doing as good as it should have been. So I think it's really had a lot of negative effects, a negative impact.
So how COVID has affected me as a student is just the mere fact that I didn't plan or didn't know that such a pandemic would wreak havoc on our country is already a problem, because none of us saw this coming. So me as a student, even just conforming to the new norm and learning online hasn't been easy, At first, when this was starting out and then we're told we're going to be having online classes, that was very unusual. And then it felt as though it was a joke. So at first, most people didn't take it seriously, even myself, and that slacked back on certain assignments. But we were forced to see that actually we just have to conform. So at an academic level, the COVID-19 has really taken a toll on me. And personally, because my course is very practical, so certain things can be done. You have to stick so much to the theory, and you're forced to do so. It's nobody's fault.
Well, like I said, I'm a radio and TV personality, but other than that, I, work in the service industry where I offer various events for different services for different functions. And with the coming of COVID-19, we haven't been operating as we are supposed to do in the service in the events industry. Why? Because one of the guidelines for COVID-19 is that you are not supposed to have crowds. And for me as an entertainer, for me as a person who directs events, for me as a person who plans events previously, before COVID-19, the only way you make a lot of money is by allowing people come together. So the fact that, you know, we haven't been allowed to have these people come together, it has been tough.
I think generally our leaders are not doing enough to sensitize people about public debt. First of all, there should have been enough education for citizens as to what we owe, what that money has been used, and just educate citizens about having the responsibility for accountability.
I think the problem that I have so far is the fact that, you know, there's some people that just have too much power. In this case, I'll cite the case of the president, for example. The president is the most powerful person in our country today. Most of the times what we have seen is that he defends the people that are suspected to be culprits of you know, these corruption cases. So that has a little bit disappointed me.
No, I don't think so. I actually don't think they're even doing anything. The other leaders that we have, I'll start from members of parliament, they're really not doing enough in terms of public debt. And most of the information that we've had on public debt has been coming from non-government organizations that have been advising government from the time before it even got to this critical level. That's why we've been getting most of the information. So it's been coming from civil society actors, but government has really turned a blind eye. And as we know, there's some debt that they say is was secretly contracted from the Chinese. So they've been trying to hide as much as they can, and that means they're actually not really doing enough in terms of tabling the issue and making the public aware of how the situation is.
Let's talk about the regional bodies. I think we have seen that there has been cause for a common framework in terms of lending. They say borrowing it is a dual responsibility between the lender and the borrower. And we have seen that there has been some recklessness in some of the lenders. Even when they see that this country may not be able to pay back the money, they keep on lending the money to that country. The regional leaders have not committed to that common debt management and lending framework, where they bring on board both lenders and borrowers, so that we promote debt sustainability.